Hi, I'm Lauren Brown. Welcome to my channel, and if you're returning, welcome back. So today's video is going to be about the way that we see media and figures in the media react to Meghan and Harry, the Duchess and Duke of Sussex, respectively, but mostly with respect to Meghan. Now, as a person of color, when I view the way that Meghan is treated, it can be quite uncomfortable. And I know many of the squad who are watching also share that sentiment. We, in one way or another, as I expressed in a previous video, which I will try to include a card or a link to here, there is something that we connect to, whether it's just that her background is, having some descent from the continent of Africa, or if it's because of her charity work. There are a lot of reasons why people connect to her. And there are also, unfortunately, a lot of reasons why people don't connect to her. And let's talk about that. The three main reasons are: one, implied ownership, and we'll talk about what that means. Two, jealousy. And three, entitlement to privilege, right? So, we'll talk first about that implied ownership. That actually ties not so much to the Duchess of Sussex, although yes, there are some people who think they have a right to every corner of her life. I do not count myself in that number. But most specifically, the Duke of Sussex, Harry. People have seen him in the public eye since he was born. And as a result, I think there is a strong feeling by some of a sense that he was theirs, whether it was because, they were a citizen of the country for which he is titled a prince, or because they just knew him and related to him, maybe his background, maybe they were of English descent or German descent or whatever it was. But people feel like they owned him. And the media that was surrounding Prince Harry was often quite skewed in its perspective of him, and played the narrative of Harry that he was the party boy, fun time guy. And I think it made a lot of people feel like he was someone who they would actually be able to grab a beer with. And while that might work for somebody holding or running for political office, that often doesn't work for people who are just trying to live their life and don't necessarily have any desire to remain public or be entirely consistently serving in the public in a manner that is where you have to run things by the public, like a politician or something like that. Harry always had portions of his life kind of given over to the media. And, as we know with parasocial relationships, it's in some ways a human instinct to feel like if you've seen someone for a lot of time, that you know them, that you know who they are, and that in some way they're yours. Is it right? No, not particularly. And if we as human beings don't check ourselves, we can run off with that. And I think a lot of people did not. I think because Harry was fed to the media wolves, it led to him being perceived as entirely up for grabs. And there are a lot of people, men and women, who basically felt that they had ownership of him. So that's point one. Point two is jealousy. So jealousy is a crazy emotion. I would say it's almost anxiety mixed with love and hate. It can be all-consuming. It can be painful, and very often it becomes a spiral, if not checked. And very few people talk about the emotion of jealousy. I think it's something that no one likes to own up to having, and so there's this sense that we want to hide it. We want to not admit that it's there. Jealousy, it's an emotion that most people don't want to admit to having, but it can cause people to be very, very, very violent. It can lead to people making rash decisions. It can lead to people harming the object of their jealousy. And because there is very often not anyone telling school-age children how to handle jealousy, we'll see it in bullying. And the main message to bullies that kids get, or about bullying that kids receive, is don't bully. There's nothing that tells them or asks them to examine why they choose to bully or why they feel, that someone should be treated negatively. There's no further examination of the self. And the truth is that jealousy as an emotion can be productive if used for an instigator to self-reflection. Basically, if you find that you're jealous of something, what's happening is that you're witnessing a perceived advantage in someone else that highlights a lack that you might be seeing in yourself, or that one will see in themselves. And that's the moment when you have to stop, and we as people have to say, wait a second, what is it that I'm feeling I'm lacking, that when I look at that other person and I see them living their life or doing whatever it is, I get this, dizzy, crazy making feeling that makes me upset. Because the truth is, anything you're jealous of is highlighting something that you desire. And while no, you can't have another person, and no one should aspire to that, there is still maybe it's highlighting that you want more fulfilling relationships. Maybe it's highlighting that you want to work on your elocution, your presentation. Maybe you want to increase your felt sense of status, right? Maybe you feel that you are not valued as much as you should be. Or maybe you are feeling that you lack attention. And, these might sound like accusations, but they're not. Every human being has these experiences. And when you look at children, we're much kinder to them about the fact that they feel that they want attention, or that they feel sad, or they're upset about something. And I encourage people who are experiencing jealousy to treat their inner child with some sensitivity and go, wait a second, I'm feeling that. Let me look at what am I lacking? Maybe I don't like the way my relationships are going. How can I make them deeper or more fulfilling? Maybe I don't like the way that I feel like I'm not being heard in my work environment, or my home environment, or my school environment. Or maybe I would like to change the way I present myself. Maybe that means, I have to, what have you, right? The solution is different for everyone, and this is not a one-size-fits-all. But jealousy is a big part of what we're seeing in the media reaction to the Duchess of Sussex, Princess Meghan, and to Harry, in fact. So the third point, which is implied superiority. Now, this is probably one of the most contentious points, and I assure you that I'm not trying to accuse anyone of anything. Again, these emotions are things that come up, and oftentimes we're not responsible for the environments we come into, but we are responsible for how we respond to those environments, and what we do and say, and how we react to people as a result. So when we look at the swaths of media participants who are making these hateful messages towards Meghan, or about Harry, about their life, very often you can see that they have this implied sense, a sense of superiority, whether it's due to their background, that could be national, that could be what they look like, outward appearance, or it could be class, right? It can be what they think is socioeconomic. All of these implications are often based on not true factors, because none of us knows the true interior story or economic stories of any public figure. What we see is what's maybe called via whatever ill-gotten or legally gotten gain, but the point is that we actually can't really know the truth unless it's spoken by the people themselves. So there is a sense that there are some people in this world who deserve to have greater advantage than other people. And when someone like Meghan comes in and changes that, right? There have been messages for centuries saying that women of color aren't to exist in spaces of luxury or privilege. To see not only this woman enter into this space and be comfortable, but to see someone who is of such a perceived by others high status. This is not a commentary on whether he's royal or not. I'm a fan of them as people, less for their titles. But to see someone like him pick such a classy woman like her, who people did not even realize could really exist, or had told themselves, or were told, or came up to believe did not exist, was a shock. And I would compare it in many ways to the shock that people felt when the 45th US president was elected, or even the 44th, where because of the way that they have been taught society should be ordered, look at this lovely couple and their beautiful story of finding each other and finding team and strength in each other as changing the way that things should be. And most human beings don't accept change happily. It is hard. Change is scary. And for some people, change is fear, something that they believe will indicate a loss for them. But one thing I can assure is that change is not a zero-sum game. It is not something that if you change and progress, I fail. In fact, there is such a phrase as a rising tide lifts all boats, and that is in fact true. When we learn to appreciate unique women like Duchess Meghan, Princess Meghan, or Serena Williams, Melody Hobson, these are amazing women of color. When we learn to appreciate the just the diversity of women in this world, we actually become stronger. All women. Our voices have greater impact. Our choices have greater impact. And we can make our lives as individual women more and better. So while we see these three forces, implied ownership with Harry, jealousy of Meghan, of the status of the moment, of what it looks like from the outside, which is all based on our own personal projections, because no one knows the inside of anyone's life or relationship, no matter what we see, because the first person felt experience is so different from anything that could be on the outside. And that third experience, or third reasoning, which is that many people just believe that there are some people who should not have. We get this tide of hatred. And my hope is that people start to focus on their own personal development. When you start focusing on you, you have less time to look at other people and compare yourself. When you start focusing on the things that make you fulfilled, feel satisfaction or productive, you don't really need the, societal structure to validate you. And these are things that can protect you from those feelings of jealousy, from the things that turn from internal pain into outward negative action. Now, do I hope that members of the media, especially women in the media, behave better and start treating both Harry, Meghan, and their kids as the valuable human beings that they are, and that they also start treating themselves, the members of the media, as people who have value beyond just being, fingers on a keyboard or, a talking head, and instead focus on how they can add impact to the world because they have a platform that can be used for good. Do I hope they do that? Yes. Do I believe that will happen? I honestly don't know. What I can say is that I'm really proud of Harry and Meghan for any degree of proud that me, a stranger, is able to have. I think I take inspiration, as I mentioned in my previous video, from Meghan's example, because she reminds me of the women in my life. My mother, my aunties, cousins, all of the fabulous mentors and people who've participated in the building of Lauren Brown. And as well, when I look at Harry, I see some elements of the men that have participated in my life. My father, with the way that he's really great socially and just really connecting with people. And just that constant desire to be of service, help, and to make a positive impact, leave a positive mark on the world. Those are great things. Those are not reasons to hate these people. They are, in fact, reasons to say, thank you for your example, and I'm going to make my own personal mark. Everyone watching this, you have the opportunity to make your own personal mark on this world. Decide what that is for you. And I will end this video here, and I will say this. One way that you can definitely make your mark if you are in the United States at the moment is by casting your vote this coming Tuesday. Voting is not just about, some political thing that happens over there. Voting impacts the outcomes of your medical circumstances, your educational circumstances, your employment, as well as your social.